New Formula 3 champion, Mick Schumacher. Did it in style yesterday, doing just enough, well, more than just enough to ensure that his points tally was sufficient to give him the championship in race 2 of the 3 across this weekend. Champion 2018. He'd like to go out on a high, of course, by taking the win in the final race, and we will see if he is able to do that. Finished yesterday's race, the race in which he won the championship in P2, and that was more than enough. So, Juri Vips, it was the race winner. He's going from P3 on the grid, but all our focus at the moment is on the crash helmet of the new FIA Formula 3 European champion, Mr. Mick Schumacher. Here is the 4.574 kilometre circuit at Hockenheim. 16 turns, 6 of them left, 10 of them are right-handers. And the heli shot is showing just how great this Hockenheim circuit is. A real challenge and test for the drivers, and they love it. Here are the points in the Drivers' Championship then. Following yesterday's 2 races, Mick Schumacher then on 347 points cannot be caught. He is the 2018 champion. Dan Ticktum on 296. Juri Vips, though, has vaulted Robert Schwartzman. Juri Vips on 282. Schwartzman on 269. Marcus Armstrong on 260. It was Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ticktum, and Marcus Armstrong going into this weekend that had mathematical chances of the championship. But the deal has been sealed by this man, Mick Schumacher, in car number 4 for Prema Theodore Racing. And there is our pole sitter, Robert Schwartzman. Took his first win in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship in the final race at the Red Bull Ring. He is the rookie champion. That was sealed, and he cannot be caught in terms of that rookie championship. So the Prema Theodore star, Robert Schwartzman, goes from pole position. Here's Alex Paulo going from P4 on the grid. And Alex Paulo has had an extraordinary season and lots of P2s. But hasn't actually taken a win. And could he do that from P4? Well, yes, of course he could. There is Juri Vips. It was Alex Paulo, of course, that hasn't had a win that we were talking about. Juri Vips going from P3. Robert Schwartzman, of course, took his first win in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship earlier this season. His only win thus far, but going from pole position stands a very good chance. In this race, Ralph Aron then, car number 7, he goes from P5 on the grid. Estonian, as indeed is Juri Vips, so Ralph Aron then, P5 on the grid. And P6, it's Gian Daravala for Carlin Motorsport in the familiar pink colours of Gian Daravala. He goes from P6 on the grid. The driver of the number 9 car, who's only had 1 win this year, and that was at Spa. And as I've said on many occasions before, took P4 in the race yesterday, second race yesterday. He's one of those drivers that you'd have expected to be right at the sharp end of the championship come the end of the year, but it's not played out that way. Sasha Fenestras then, another Carlin driver, is going from P7 on the grid. And there is Guan Yu Zhu, who took the win in race 1 yesterday. The Prema Theodore star, he goes from P8 on the grid, Guan Yu Zhu, member of the Ferrari Driver Academy. And then we find Inem Ahmed for High-Tech Bullfrog GP. 1:32.738 time, giving him P9. Second fastest lap in the second qualifying session sets the grid for this race. And there is Daniel Ticktum, who gave it his all yesterday in terms of trying to keep his championship hopes alive. But a P5 in race 1, a P7 in race 2. It was never going to be enough, unfortunately. And he has his championship hopes dashed by Mick Schumacher, who became the 2018 champion in race 2 yesterday. Ferdinand Habsburg goes from P11 on the grid. Another one that's had a really interesting season, and the races here, a non-finish in race 1 and then a P12 in the race yesterday. The Moto Park racer Jonathan Aberdeen is going from P12 on the grid, ahead of Marino Sato, who goes from P13, and there we can see the number 33 car of Marino Sato, 1:32.870, P13 on the grid for Marino. as the cars are fired up, then the final race of the 2018 championship is about to be unleashed. 33 minutes plus 1 lap. And already thousands upon thousands of spectators making their way into Hockenheim for this big day of racing. So the scene is set then in the sunshine. It's a bit windier today, has to be said. Nonetheless, weather conditions absolutely perfect, I would suggest, for racing. And the cars are about to be released on their formation lap. There is Mick Schumacher going from P2 on the grid. And Jury Vips in the number 44 car. 4 wins this season, Jury Vips. As, Daniel Tixon gets away then. The honours of P2 in the championship. He wants to seal and seize. And we'll give you the grid once again in full in just a few moments as the cars make their way through turn number 1. And head off up towards the turn 2, 3, 4 sequence, which leads the cars onto the parabolica, up to the hairpin. So weaving from side to side to generate some temperature into the Hankook tyres. Robert Schwartzman from pole position. Already a race winner in the FIA Formula 3 Championship this year. Can he take another win here in the final race of the season? And from the helicopter, here comes our starting grid as promised. Robert Schwartzman, pole position alongside him. The new champion, Mick Schumacher. Then it's Jury Vips, Alex Paulo, Ralph Aron, Gian Daravala, Sasha Fenestras, Guan Yu Zhu, Inem Ahmed, and Daniel Ticktum. That's the first 5 rows of the grid from race number 30. Here come the next 5. Ferdinand Habsburg, Jonathan Aberdeen, Marino Sato, Fabio Scherer, Julian Hanses, Sophia Flörsch, Marcus Armstrong, Ben Hingley, Frederic Vesti, and Sebastian Fernandez. Frederic Vesti, a guest driver, not scoring points. Then we find Artem Petrov, Nikita Troitsky, Kayvan Suri Andres, and Ameya Vadyanathan completing the grid for this final race of the season. 4.574 kilometers, and as I mentioned previously, 16 turns, 6 of them left, 10 of them are right-handers. So as the sun burns down there, the cars make their way through the Sachs turn into the Sudkurva sequence, turns 15 and 16, and then they'll line up perfectly in their grid boxes. And this will be the man that will be first to show, Robert Schwartzman. They're the new champion who will be starting on the inside, which isn't pole position here at Hockenheim. Mick Schumacher, the new champion. Just missed the air temperature, I think it said 20.3 degrees, so it's whatever local time, just on 10:04. Hoping it will warm up significantly during the course of the morning and early afternoon. Certainly what the weather prediction has for us. So as always, Schwartzman and Schumacher are the drivers that have to wait the longest for the rest of the cars to come into their grid boxes. And there we can see just many of the thousands of Mick Schumacher fans that have packed into the grandstands to see him seal the Drivers' Championship. Well, he did it in race 2 yesterday. But, as I said, he'll want to go out on a high in race 3 and add to his win tally. We await the green flag from the marshal of the rear. Once we have that, you will hear the engine note rise. We have it now. So the lights begin to come on. We have 3, 4, 5, and when the lights are out, we go racing. So good start from Schwartzman. A very good start from Schumacher as well, who's very nearly able to put himself on the inside of Robert Schwartzman going into turn number 1, but was just denied by Schwartzman. So as they head, his Jury Vips already looking very lively on the back of Mick Schumacher. Sasha Fenestras, another driver that's looking pretty lively too. As for the first time of asking in this 33-minute race plus 1 lap, they make their way on to the parabolica now. Ralph Aron and Gian Daravala side by side. Dan Ticktum, here comes Ben Hingley in the number 77 car right on the inside now. But Schwartzman is able to escape up the road. Juri Vips on the inside of Mick Schumacher going into the hairpin, but Mick Schumacher has superior momentum. Gian Daravala on the inside there, as there's a connection with Fenestraz there, you can see, involved. So hopefully we'll get a replay of that almost straight away. Juri Vips one that was very, very involved in that, and that's really, really hurt him. So Schwartzman up the road. Alex Paolo taking big advantage and finds himself in P3. Juri Vips has rejoined and managed to get the car pointing in the right direction again. But Fenestraz lost his front wing. Now, whether there's still any debris across the track or not, we can't tell. So, through the Sud Curva, Marcus Armstrong was in that melee as well. So, first lap in the book for Schwartzman, then Schumacher. Alex Paolo now elevated to P3, then it's Ralph Aron, Gian Daravala, Dan Ticktum P6, Jonathan Aberdeen, Guan Yu Zhou, Ferdinand Habsburg, Inem Ahmed. Here it is then. You can see Ralph Aron it was that made the contact on the back of the Juri Vips car. Let's see it again. There's Juri Vips then, and Ralph Aron makes contact, and then Fenestraz ran over the back of Aron's car as well. So the other car that went round there was Marino Sato. So poor old Juri Vips then, who actually was kind of minding his own business, and then was clattered into the rear by Ralph Aron. So, and Nikita Trotsky making contact with Marino Sato. Out of the pit lane comes the Nikita Trotsky car then. And also out of the pit lane is Marcus Armstrong. And locking up for good measure. So there is Nikita Trotsky then in the number 16 car. So race leader Robert Schwartzman, who's stretching his legs by 1.2 seconds over Mick Schumacher, the new champion, who in turn is about the same distance over Alex Paolo. Then it is Ralph Aron, Gian Daravala, and Dan Ticktum P6. So Ticktum, of course, will try and reel in Gian Daravala. Their confirmation as another lap is put in the book of the order. Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo, Aron, Daravala, Ticktum, Aberdeen, and Guan Yu Zhou up to P8. Turn 6 incident has been noted by race control. We'll give you any indication if there's going to be any penalties awarded with regards to that, but it has been noted. And let's take a look at the start once again. Robert Schwartzman away well, so too Mick Schumacher, and the rest of the cars all come through, everyone getting away well. And all, as always, jostling for positions heading into turn number 1. From the high shot here, you can see that Schumacher very nearly had the ability to keep alongside Robert Schwartzman going into turn number 1, but not quite. And out of the race then is the Sasha Fenestra car. So the last 2 races, neither of them, sadly. So Schwartzman then continuing to go well with another 2/10 added to his time between himself and the P2 driver Mick Schumacher, the new 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion, who in turn is just being reeled in a little bit now by Alex Paolo. So Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo, Aron, then it is Daravala, Ticktum, Aberdeen, Guan Yu Zhou, Ferdinand Habsburg is P9, and Inem Ahmed is P10. See visibly the gap between Schumacher and Alex Paolo is coming down, 8/10 between the two of them, and trying to get on terms with them both is Ralph Aron and also Gian Daravala. So Parabolica is where the cars are at now. Robert Schwartzman just going about his business and is untroubled. He's got 1.7 seconds worth of margin between himself and Mick Schumacher. Under braking, Paolo tries to get a little bit closer to Schumacher, and Ralph Aron is urging them both on. Ahmed under some pressure in that P10 place. So as we watch them through turn number 8, 9 and 10 now. So this is turn 10 and down onto this straight section before the Mobile 1 turn, which is turn number 11. And then into the banked Sachs turn. There's Ben Hingley. And there is Jury Vips fighting his way back up the order now, having been nerfed around right at the start of the race. Already he's made it back up to P18, having got past Janathan Hanses. And next in the target sights of Jury Vips is the number 3 car of Sebastian Fernandez. There is Daniel Ticktum, who sets the fastest lap now, a 1:33.738 in his quest to get on terms with Jehan Daravala. 1.1 seconds between the number 9 car and the number 27 car. This is Daniel Ticktum that we watch now with the Red Bull support, of course. There's our race leader, Robert Schwartzman. Paolo now ever closer to Mick Schumacher. Of course, from Schumacher's perspective, the pressure is off now. He's sealed the championship. He did everything that he needed to do in race 2 yesterday. And it's a 3-way fight going on now, potentially for P2. Because joining into that party is Ralph Aron. Jehan Daravala and Dan Ticktum are not far behind either. So Schumacher having to think hard now about defending from Alex Paolo, who has now potentially got within striking distance of the number 4 car that is ahead of him. All of which is just playing nicely into the hands of Robert Schwartzman, who can just get himself up the road and continue to increase the margin between himself and the P2 driver, which he has done. It's now 2.1 seconds, or it was last time around. And as Robert Schwartzman crosses the timing line just about now. Oh, and that's a big, big off for Jehan Daravala. Managed to hold it together and get it pointing in the right direction again, and there's a huge smoke coming out of the back of that car. So that is going to be a race retirement for Jehan Daravala, I feel sure. Lots of cars in avoidance, and you can see the smoke is still coming out of the number 9 car. So Jehan Daravala then, who is, as I said, going to have to try and nurse the car back, but of course he's got the whole lap to do. So you can see the front end plate running on the tarmac. Now, completely all out on his own. Oh, and you can see how the damage was caused to the car. Running across the rumble strips, you can see it even better perhaps from this particular angle. One of the track control arms, I think, was broken even before going through the gravel. And then, of course, all the smoke pouring off the back of the car as various elements are making contact with the tarmac. So bad news for Jehan Daravala. Great news, of course, for Daniel Ticktum. And in the championship prediction, if it stays this way, this is the way it will finish, with Mick Schumacher P1. We already know that. Daniel Ticktum will be P2. Robert Schwartzman will be P3 with Jury Vips P4. Of course, Jury Vips really disadvantaged from that opening incident in turn number 6, and that incident is going to be investigated after the race. So the order then is Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo, Aron, Ticktum, Aberdeen, Guan Yu Zhu, Ferdinand Habsburg, Inem Ahmed, and Sophia Flörsch is P10. There is Jury Vips then, who has, in the space of us talking about Jehan Daravala, moved up to P15. And is now chasing down Frederick Vesti ahead. Frederick Vesti, who's shown really well this weekend in his maiden run in the championship. Tries to protect that inside line, so Jury Vips goes to the outside. Racing room is left between the both of them. Vesti will get good momentum off the hairpin, but so too will Jury Vips. So Jury Vips then trying to move up into this P14 place. He will have the inside for the next turn. Frederick Vesti is going to have to yield, and Jury Vips should go through. Set that up absolutely perfectly here at Hockenheim. It's off the back of that turn number 6, where you can set up a move going into turns 8, 9, and 10 potentially. And Jury Vips has delivered that. And next in his target sights is the number 13 car of Fabio Scherer, a Moto Park racer. Finished the race P6 yesterday and is currently running in that P13 place. Schwartzman is 3.3 seconds up the road from Schumacher. Now, factor this in for the challenge in terms of points for Jury Vips. He would have to get up into P5 to really be challenging Robert Schwartzman with regards to who finishes what in the championship. So that is going to be a big ask for Jury Vips. What have we got? 21.5 minutes plus a lap still remaining, and Jury Vips is running in P14 now. And there is the number 33 car of Marino Sato. And Robert Schwartzman, then our race leader, 3.3 seconds to the good. Mick Schumacher still managing to hold off Alex Paulo. Almost becoming a four-way fight for that P2 place, because Dan Ticktum almost on the back of Ralph Aron. A little bit of a lock-up there from Alex Paulo. So Schumacher then in the number 4 car, Alex Paulo there in the number 39. Chasing down Schumacher as they head towards turn number 11. And up now to the Sachs curve. There's Ralph Aron then, running in P4, and Dan Ticktum, who finds himself in P5 and chasing down Ralph Aron ahead of him. So another lap is completed then for Robert Schwartzman, who is now 4.7 seconds up the road from Mick Schumacher. Now, this we saw just a few moments ago, clattering and rattling across the curbs and the grass. That was Julian Hanses, and you can see Julian Hanses picking up quite a lot of gravel. Both Marcus Armstrong and Gian Daravala have retired their cars, so the torrid weekend that Marcus Armstrong has had is continuing. The 3 non-finishers in this weekend. Really damp end to his season, to be fair. And Gian Daravala took P4 in the race yesterday, but it's sandwiched between 2 non-classifications in race 1 and race 3. So Paulo now is turning up the wick on Schumacher and trying to find a way past him. He's closer than he's been for all the previous laps, and now Mick Schumacher really having to defend very hard from Alex Paulo in the number 39 car. Ralph Aron is just biding his time and waiting behind. Jonathan Aberdeen has got a bit closer to Dan Ticktum. There is Dan Ticktum, who can't seem to get close enough to Ralph Aron yet. For the moment, Schumacher has seen off the charge coming from Alex Paulo and gaps him a little bit now. 6/10 between the two of them as they cross the timing line then. And the order, as you can see on screen: Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paulo, Aron, Ticktum, then it's Aberdeen, Guan Yu Zhou, Ferdinand Habsburg, Inem Ahmed, and Sophia Flörsch. So there we can see Guan Yu Zhou chasing down the Jonathan Aberdeen car. And here is Schumacher onto the Parabolica. There is Dan Ticktum, about on his bit on his own, to be honest, in that P5, because still 6/10 or so behind Ralph Aron, and it's about the same gap back to Jonathan Aberdeen, as Guan Yu Zhou just shows his face there in the number 1 car to the inside. And this is Ben Hingley and Jury Vips, as Jury Vips continuing his quest to try and make good on a disastrous start to the race that he had in lap 1. Particularly around that turn, which is where he got turned around, of course. So Jury Vips does get past Ben Hingley and finds himself now in P11. So a bit like we saw with Mick Schumacher yesterday, seeing some incredible driving from Jury Vips now. His racecraft really good in terms of having to cut a swathe through the pack of cars. The bit, of course, between his teeth, following the fact that he was turned around. So Jury Vips then now has Artem Petrov lined up ahead of him. So there is the Jury Vips car racing really hard now. Now there's a potential jump start for Artem Petrov, which is going to be investigated after the race. Surprises me because I think that's quite clear whether it was or was not a jump start, because sensors all across the grid boxes where the cars have to park up before the start. So there's Ferdinand Habsburg. He's running in that P8 position ahead of Inem Ahmed and Sophia Flörsch, then Artem Petrov, Jury Vips. Here is Ben Hingley then, who's got Fabio Scherer now. Fabio Scherer going through on the outside of Ben Hingley as they head up towards the hairpin. And will go through. So as we pick the cars up here now, next behind is the number 30 car of Frederick Vesti. Oh, Hingley comes back. So Ben Hingley says, right, not done with this yet, in the number 77 car, and comes back on the number 13 car of Fabio Scherer. So some good driving there from Ben Hingley. Lost the place, then gets it back. Frederick Vesti now under pressure as well. So the number 30 car is Frederick Vesti, and right behind Frederick Vesti is the number 3 car of Fernandez. So this fight is all going on for P13, 14, 15 and 16. As in the meantime, Robert Schwartzman continues to increase his margin by another few tenths. It's up to 5.2 seconds, the gap between Schwartzman and Schumacher. So this is Ben Hingley in the number 77 car, driving, of course, for the High-Tech GP team. So there is Schumacher, who has seen off the charge for Alex Palou just for the moment. 6, almost 7 cars all lined up here. None of them quite close enough to be able to make moves on the cars ahead. About half distance in this final FIA Formula 3 European Championship race for the 2018 season. Incidentally, Ben Hingley is being given the black and white flag for failing to manage the track limits. There is the number 39 car of Paolo, who just 3 laps ago was right on Mick Schumacher. Now, Jury Vips, this is him getting past Artem Petrov through the hairpin, and Jury Vips has certainly made up a great number of places, having been turned around. Here it is in replay once again. King of the late breakers into the hairpin, through on the number 12 car of Artem Petrov. So, incidentally, Jury Vips setting the fastest lap too in so doing. So, really good driving, and there you can see confirmation of the fastest lap, a 1:33.421, which comes on lap 12 of the race. Next in his target size, Sophia Flörsch. So Gian Daravala is one of the drivers that we've lost from the race, the number 9 Carlin car, the familiar car, all pink, of course. Gian Daravala sadly out of the race now. Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo is P1, 2 and 3. And there is Schumacher, who now has got a comfortable 1 second margin over Alex Paolo, who has been chasing him really, really hard. So there, the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion. There is Alex Paolo, who all of a sudden is having to defend really from Ralph Aron, who's got a little bit closer to him. It's just 6 tenths between Alex Paolo and Ralph Aron. But there, Mick Schumacher is able to just concentrate and focus on his driving, having seen off and defended very hard against Alex Paolo. As I say, 3-4 laps ago, when Paolo got the closest that he had got, and a real opportunity was there, but it's all very well being right on the back of someone. You've got to find a way around. So I mentioned just a few moments ago about the loss of Gian Daravala out of the race. And here it is once again, as you can see, through the gravel. And the car really dipping down, and there you can see it from another angle. And Gian Daravala doing a very good job to control the car, truthfully, and it not pointing in the wrong direction. But as you can see, lots of damage to the Gian Daravala car, and that was always going to be a retirement. And you can see him into the pit lane with various components broken, and sadly, not a great end to the 2018 season for Gian Daravala. One of the really nice guys in the paddock, it has to be said. Right, here is the battle that is continuing then. And going through on Jonathan Aberdeen is Guan Yu Zhu. And Jonathan Aberdeen trying to fight back here and trying to pick up the pieces as well. And just waiting is Ferdinand Habsburg. So Guan Yu Zhu in the #1 car is another one of those drivers that we would have put down as an absolute favourite for the championship come the beginning of the season, but it's just not gone his way this year. So Guan Yu Zhu puts himself up into that the 6th place, and Ferdinand Habsburg and Jonathan Aberdeen continuing to trade places as well around the Sachs turn now. And this isn't all over yet, although Guan Yu Zhu has made haste his escape up the road. Jonathan Aberdeen then still trying to defend from Ferdinand Habsburg in the #62 car. So into turn #1 they go. Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo. Then it's Aron, Ticktum and Guan Yu Zhu, P6. Then it's Aberdeen, Habsburg, Ahmed, Sophia Flörsch and Jury Vips chasing down that Sophia Flörsch car. So this was Guan Yu Zhu then, trying to line up the Jonathan Aberdeen car and almost forcing his way to the inside of the hairpin. Jonathan Aberdeen just giving him racing room, although there may have been just a touch between the two of them. We just caught the back end of that live. And now Dan Ticktum is on the back of Ralph Aron, and he needs to get the hurry up because he's going to have Guan Yu Zhu on his gearbox in just a few moments from now. And just behind, you can see the fight that's continuing between Jonathan Aberdeen and Ferdinand Habsburg. I think Ferdinand Habsburg has just got the better of the #23 car now. So as they head in towards turn #8, sure enough, Ferdinand Habsburg ahead of the #23 car of Jonathan Aberdeen. There is Guan Yu Zhu, and here is Ferdinand Habsburg. As Jonathan Aberdeen now is thinking about fighting back as they head through turn #11. I think Ferdinand Habsburg has probably done enough. And we're into the final 10 minutes of the race, plus 1 lap to come in the final FIA Formula 3 European Championship race for 2018. #65 car of Inem Ahmed is running in P9. And now there is Jury Vips, who has got the Sophia Flörsch car ahead. So Sophia Flörsch will be defending very hard, I suspect, from the hard-charging Jury Vips, who just a couple of laps ago set the fastest lap of the race, you will recall. There's a Maya Vadyanathan ahead of the Marino Sato car. It's P19 and P20. So there is Guan Yu Zhu, Ferdinand Habsburg. Now those two have been released almost from Jonathan Aberdeen. You can see how they've got up the road. And here comes Jury Vips. Is he going to be able to have a go on Sophia Flörsch going into the hairpin this time? Is he going to be close enough? Well, he's reeling her in. Closer, closer, closer. Sophia Flörsch goes to defend the inside line. That means that Jury Vips has got to go to the outside. His preferred overtake method has been on the inside of the hairpin. He's run wide, and he will carry the momentum now. And if he can get alongside the Sophia Flörsch car and keep that inside line, of course, that is going to give him the inside for turn #8. Good, again, good, healthy racing respect between the two of them, and Jury Vips gets another overtake done. So Jury Vips now finds himself in P10. Now bear in mind, the guy was turned around in the opening lap of the race, and he's had to fight his way back up the order. And seen some fantastic driving from Jury Vips, who now they'll be focusing on the Inem Ahmed car ahead of him. Whilst all that is going on, Robert Schwartzman is now some 5.5 seconds up the road from Mick Schumacher. The order being unveiled on screen as the cars cross the timing line then. As you can see, Schwartzman, Schumacher, Paolo, Aron, Ticktum, Zhu, Habsburg, Aberdeen, then it's Ahmed, and Jury Vips now is P10. Schwartzman's position in the championship to be altered, given he is winning the race. Juri Vips is going to have to try and get to P4, and with merely 7 minutes of the race remaining, that's an extremely tall order, I would suggest. So Robert Schwartzman, who has, well, he's just gone quietly about his work, hasn't he, as he makes his way through the Mercedes turn now and into turn 9-10 sequence. He's done a brilliant job here and hasn't looked troubled at all. So Robert Schwartzman then for Prema Theodore Racing, then supported of course by the SMP Racing concern. Of course SMP Racing, Boris Rothenburg, himself a reasonable GT driver, it has to be said. And, Boris Rothenburg's racing career coached by one Mr. Alexei Vasiliev, another very, very talented Russian racer. But this young talent is Robert Schwartzman, who's being supported by that organisation and doing well to put their faith into this young man who is proving just how good he is with a 5.7 second margin over Mick Schumacher, the new 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion, who sealed it in race 2 yesterday, who has now got a comfortable margin over Alex Palou of some 1.5 seconds. And Palou to Iran is 7/10, Iran to Tictum is 1.4, and Juri Vips now is already lost a place because the very feisty Sophia Flörsch has come back to Juri Vips and got past him. So Juri Vips has already got to do the job all over again, having made himself into that P10 position. Here he comes to the outside of Sophia Flörsch. It's almost like a carbon copy of how he did it. He'll try and get underneath the number 25 car now, perhaps, but tell you what, that's brilliant driving from Sophia Flörsch. Got overtaken by Juri Vips, and then says, I'm coming back at you. Whoa, Juri Vips is way off the track there. Oh, a bit of a lock up there. And Sophia Flörsch does not want to make herself vulnerable to Artem Petrov. Now, hopefully we will get a replay of actually when Sophia Flörsch came back and got past Juri Vips. Initially, I thought Vips had got onto the back of Ahmed already, but oh no. It was because Sophia Flörsch had taken that place back once again, but Juri Vips now, just a couple of laps later, does manage to get it back again. Originally, of course, he had got past and got into that P10 position, but Sophia Flörsch, as I say, very feisty for Van Amersfoort Racing, coming back and getting past. So 4.5 minutes remaining. Now, I mentioned earlier on that there was going to be, or there was a black and white flag for Ben Hingley for failing to manage the track limits. Well, he's now actually been given a drive-through penalty for failing to manage those track limits, and has taken that drive-through penalty. So Ben Hingley is at the end of the pit lane now and on his way back out onto the track again. So takes his drive-through penalty for not managing those track limits. Another car that has been warned with regards to that is the car of Kayvan Suri Andres, the Van Amersfoort racer that's running down there in P17. Juri Vips now has put his foot through the floor in trying to escape from Sophia Flörsch and to try and once again back on terms with Inem Ahmed, but a big gap to Inem Ahmed now, and probably I would suggest that where Juri Vips is now is probably where he will finish up, barring any other disasters ahead of him, of course. So there is Sophia then. Now, in fairness, Sophia's feistiness, which is to be admired, truthfully, she has been given a black and white flag for forcing another driver off the track. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, in my opinion. But doing a very good job. And Juri Vips, though, has got the better of her for the moment. Here is our race leader, Robert Schwartzman. Forgive me, 7.2 seconds up the road. Extraordinary pace from Robert Schwartzman, who's just been going about his business very, very well indeed. Palou just come back to Schumacher now. So in the closing stages of this race, whether Palou will try and make it onto the second step of the podium rather than the third. There is Sophia Flörsch in the number 25 car. Of course, joined the championship from Zandvoort on for Van Amersfoort Racing. And delighted to welcome her into the paddock and onto the track as well, and has acquitted herself really well, as was expected. A star in German junior category, Formula 4, and now in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and running in P11 currently. And showing a clean pair of heels, that's for sure, to Artem Petrov. So Schwartzman then, P1. Then it is Schumacher. Now, playing into the hands of Mick Schumacher a little bit and not troubling him for that P2 place, because Alex Palou is having to defend from Ralph Ferron, who wants to be on the podium for the final race of the year, and is pursuing Alex Palou, perhaps closer and quicker than he has for the entire race duration. But the time is running out now for Ralph Ferron to try and find a way past the number 39 Alex Palou car, but he's certainly close enough going up to towards the hairpin. Now I would suggest to have a go on Alex Palou. Here comes Robert Schwartzman, he goes through. Sure enough now, Ralph Ferron side by side with Alex Palou as they head towards the hairpin. Mick Schumacher is far enough up the road not to be involved, I would think. Alex Palou then very cleverly making sure he uses the inside of that, or the middle of that turn, and therefore Ralph Ferron has to take to the runoff area. And that overtake was denied through the hairpin, but often off the back of the hairpin is where you set the move up for turns 8, 9 and 10. He'll try and get underneath Alex Palou now, potentially, but he doesn't have the momentum or traction to be able to do so. So Alex Palou driving really well defensively here, and seeing off Ralph Ferron. Now, bear in mind that Alex Palou, and you're not aware of this because it's only just happened, he was given a black and white flag for failing to manage the track limits on the previous lap. Incidentally, Kevin Suri Andres gets a drive-through penalty for track limits excursion as well. This, though, our race leader, Robert Schwartzman, who crosses the timing line. Here comes Mick Schumacher for P2. Then it's Alex Palou and Ralph Ferron. So as the FIA Formula 3 European Championship comes to a close, now we are on the final lap. That's just been confirmed because Robert Schwartzman crossed the line just as the clock went to 0, and therefore just waiting before we saw the absolute confirmation that this will be the final lap. So it's now or never for Ralph Ferron then, as he lines up the Alex Palou car, and Ralph Ferron to the outside again. He'll try and dive to the inside now and get the undercut on Alex Palou. I don't think he's been able to do it, or maybe he has now as he gets some momentum. Can he get alongside the number 39 car? No, he can't. So he'll try and pressure him. So to the outside he goes now. Once again, he'll try and get underneath the car as they go through this turn. There's a little lock-up from Alex Palou. Trying to buy into this is Dan Ticktum as well. And Ralph Ferron doesn't want to leave himself vulnerable to Dan Ticktum, because P4 could become P5 if he's not minded. And in fairness, he has to be minded to defend, and that means Alex Palou can escape. But what an absolute star drive it's been from this man, Robert Schwartzman, who is going to finish and take the checkered flag. P3 overall, but wins this race with a margin of 8.5 seconds. It was last lap. Here comes Mick Schumacher. He is the champion. The pressure is off him, of course. P2, Alex Palou seals P3. Then it's Ralph Ferron, Dan Ticktum, Guan Yu Zhu, Ferdinand Habsburg, Jonathan Aberdeen, P8, Inem Ahmed P9, Jury Vips P10, Sophia Flörsch P11, and then Artem Petrov P12. Well, that was a great drive from Robert Schwartzman. Completely and totally untroubled. And completes his 2018 Formula 3 European Championship season with a race win. Double P2 for Mick Schumacher, having taken P2 in race 2. He takes P2 in race 3. Alex Palou on the podium for the race overall, having taken that P3 place. P4 for Ralph Ferron. Valiant effort to try and find his way past Alex Palou, but it wasn't to be. And of course, what he didn't want to do was leave himself vulnerable to Ralph Aron, and almost doing so he did. Here comes the man then that has taken the win in the last race of the season, Robert Schwartzman. Incredible margin with which he finished as well. So pretty happy with that, and rightly so. Don't very often see Rennie Rossin not on his phone. He is the team principal of the team that runs this man, Mick Schumacher, and also runs Robert Schwartzman, of course, as well as a number of other extremely talented drivers. That is the Prema Theodore Racing team. So on the rookie podium, we're going to see Schwartzman, Jonathan Aberdeen, and Inem Ahmed. Robert Schwartzman, double bubble for him, getting the podium for the race win overall. Then top of the podium for the rookies as well. Robert Schwartzman then enjoying the adulation of the huge crowd here at Hockenheim. Now, Prema, of course, have had a supreme season. And here, confirmation of the result for race 30, the final one of the year. Robert Schwartzman, P1, then it was Mick Schumacher, Alex Paolo, Ralph Aron, Dan Ticktum, Guan Yu Zhu, Ferdinand Habsburg, Jonathan Aberdeen, Inem Ahmed, and Jury Vips rounding out the points-paying positions. And then it was a very, very good drive from Sophia Flörsch to finish in P11, Artem Petrov P12, then it was Fabio Schirra, Sebastian Fernandez, Julian Hanses, Frederick Vesti, Marino Sato, Amaya Vadjanathan, Ben Hingley, Keivan Suri Andres, Nikita Troitsky, and of course we saw the retirements of Gian Daravala and Marcus Armstrong. And at the scene then of the paddock area, and we have a number of podiums to come, but Perk Vermey first of all, as Robert Schwartzman parks his car up in front of the number 1 sign, because he wins the race. And gets himself out of the car. Very happy he is. Very dominant display. And congratulated down there. And we can see it from another angle. And there, once again, the board that we saw yesterday, Mick Schumacher, 2018 for FIA Formula 3 European champion. And of course, some interesting headgear being worn by members of the Prema team. Very sparkly. So, the final points table of the Drivers' Championship for 2018. Mick Schumacher finishes the season on 365 points. 306 for Daniel Ticktum, then it's Robert Schwartzman seals P3 in the Drivers' Championship. 294 points over Jury Vips on 283. Then it was Marcus Armstrong, Ralph Aron, Alex Paolo, Guan Yu Zhu, Inem Ahmed, and Gian Daravala, the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. And there is Daniel Ticktum. He's sealed second in the Drivers' Championship standings. It's not what he wanted, of course. Very much wanted the win, but in the end, could not defend against the incredible run of success that Mick Schumacher had. So So bearing in mind that people like Verstappen and Giovinazzi that finished P2 in the Drivers' Championship to Formula One, so it's not all over for Dan Tickton by any means. Very talented young driver. Massive number of people here to enjoy the race action this weekend. Of course, the finals not only of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship for DT, but for DTM as well. So everyone assembled ahead of the podium ceremonies, and I say ceremonies because we have the podium for the race overall, we have the rookie podium, of course, and then the championship podium to come. So the podium assembly area will become very busy indeed, as you can see. So Robert Schwartzman and Mick Schumacher in conversation there, Dan Tickton and Inem Ahmed in conversation, and Robert Schwartzman taking on board some water. So he has 3 podiums to come. So sadly the microphones on the cameras are not live, because it's always nice to listen into the conversations that are going on down there. There is Dan Tickton being offered a hand to shake, and continues his conversations there with Alex Paolo, and there's Jonathan Aberdeen. Inem Ahmed right in the centre of the picture. Jonathan Aberdeen to your left. Now it's Alex Paolo to the left of the picture. And Inem Ahmed right in the middle of it. So we await the podium. Or podiums, I should say. The single-seater commissioner for the FIA, Stefano Domenicali, was here yesterday. I can see there that the sport president of the ADAC, Mr. Herman Tomczyk, is there. I'm not sure I've seen Mr. Domenicali yet, whether indeed he's even in attendance today. As I say, he was certainly here yesterday. There's a team principal of Prema Theodore Racing, René Rossin. And there we can see our race winner, Robert Schwartzman, conducting an orchestra up there on the podium. Well done, sir. And there is the headgear that I was mentioning with regards to Prema. Well, before it's announced, it's already up there. Here comes Mick Schumacher, then P2 in the race. Schwartzman, very much one of his teammates, and has shown a similar sort of pace to Mick Schumacher towards the in the final third of the season, really. Alex Paolo. Once again, Prema Theodore Racing will be represented on the podium. And time for the national anthem to play out for Robert Schwartzman. So here come the trophy presentations then, and as I said, the ADAC Sports President, Mr. Herman Tomczyk, making the trophy presentation. First of all to Robert Schwartzman. Doesn't generally show an awful lot of emotion, but he's very happy with that. And Prema receiving their trophy. Trophies. Mick Schumacher receives his for P2. And Alex Paolo for P3. So the drivers all get together for photographs. Sierra there, the official FIA Formula 3 European Championship photographer, as Robert Schwartzman now launches the champagne. Alex Paolo, to be fair, had got his going actually before Schwartzman, and Schumacher is slow off the blocks with the champagne, it has to be said, but now fights back. So great celebrations to see after a fantastic season. Fair shot with the champagne, you are, Mick. Well done, sir. And Schwartzman takes on a big old slug of it, and rightly so. Got a lot of work to do, because of course he'll be on the podium for the rookie race, and also on the podium for the championship podium also. So a lot for him to do. So they hasten the clean-up of the podium then before we get to the next podium ceremony to conclude the 2018 season in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. So Schwartzman will head to the top step of the podium for the rookie podium as we super slow-mo here of the 2018 champion, Mick Schumacher. So it's Robert Schwartzman, Jonathan Aberdeen and Inem Ahmed that we're going to see on this rookie podium. Here comes Inem then, making his way to step number 3. Good fun character in the paddock he is, that's for sure. National anthem to play out once again for Robert Schwartzman. So trophy presentations about to get underway. Well done, Robert. Ooh, nearly dropped it. So this, the rookie podium then. Robert Schwartzman, Jonathan Aberdeen and Inem Ahmed, the recipients of the trophies. So all together for photographs once again. And final photo taken before once again the champagne is launched. And all three drivers enjoying their time up there on the rookie podium, and rightly so. So double bubble for Robert Schwartzman in terms of being on the top step of the podium, both in the race overall and on the rookie podium as well. So congratulations to those drivers, Robert Schwartzman, Jonathan Aberdeen and Inem Ahmed. As they make their way away from the podium, it will be prepared for the championship podium. Despite the fact the race was, or the championship was won in race 2, the championship podium always comes after the final race. And it is going to be fantastic to see Mick Schumacher on the top step of the podium. Here he is, the FIA Formula 3 European champion for 2018, Mick Schumacher. Taking P2 then in the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European Championship is Dan Ticktum. And for his third appearance on the podium this race, P3, the Drivers' Championship, is Robert Schwartzman. Prema Fedor Racing, of course, going to be represented on the podium also. Team champions, and Rennie Ross in there, who I predict is going to get soaked. Just a prediction on my part. He's got one of his older T-shirts on, deliberately for that purpose, in my opinion. So Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ticktum and Robert Schwartzman. The championship. Schwartzman getting more adulation, of course, because of the Rookie Championship. Time for the trophies to be presented now. But first, the national anthem. So the anthem plays out then, and it is time for the 2018 championship trophies to be presented. And what a trophy it is as well. And it is delivered to one Mr. Mick Schumacher, the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion. P2 then to Daniel Ticktum. And P3 will go the way of Robert Schwartzman. I have to say that at the FIA Formula 3 European Championship party tonight, which is a replication of this presentation, alongside René de Boer, my pleasure to crown Mick Schumacher as the champion. Well, it's been a fantastic season. We'll spend our time now looking forward to 2019. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Abholplatz so gleich hier hingelegt. Glückwunsch.
Ja, danke schön. War auf jeden Fall sehr